My name is Ed Kang, Chief Strategy Officer for Startups.com. Here is a 90-day plan if you're seeking funding for your startup. With every 90-day plan, what we always suggest is you start off with an objective. And in this case, your objective is to start having meaningful conversations with investors in 90 days. Now, if you are in an accelerator program like Startups.com, hopefully you're able to attain these results faster than 90 days. But we like to look at it in 90-day cycles because it helps us divide up the work and plan our schedules accordingly. After your main objective, we are going to use the key results. This is part of the OKR framework, objective and key results. The first key result that you're going to be looking for is a validated pitch deck, and that's going to take about 30 days. After that, you're going to spend another 30 days doing investor research and getting feedback, really getting ready for that outreach, which is the next key result. You're doing outreach systems, and that happens over the last 30 days. Now, another key result through the entire 90 days you'll be looking at is increasing traction. And like I said, that is continuous through the entire 90-day plan. Now, before we continue, it's important to note that this is just an outline only. In fact, it's what I would be doing if I had 90 days and I wanted to secure funding. And I've done this many times before. But if you're looking for additional advice, make sure you talk to advisors because you might be making some tweaks along the way, or you might have already done a lot of these steps and you're trying to get there sooner than later. Now, let's jump into key result number one, and that is getting a validated pitch deck. And you're going to be doing that for the first 30 days. And during those 30 days, the first thing is to find the appropriate resources. Don't just go download a pitch deck template that you saw Airbnb use or that Uber used and copy away. You want to make sure that you get the right resource, a comprehensive plan, such as what we provide at Startups.com, or you can go anywhere else, and make sure those resources are appropriately aligned to your goals. What does that look like? Well, first of all, you need to understand your round. What are you seeking? Are you in pre-seed, seed, or Series A, B, C, D, going public? All of them have different types of funding requirements, as well as different dynamics that you're going to undergo. So it's important to understand and go out and research exactly what stage you're in. I'll leave you to that research, or you can talk to your advisor. Next, you want to start your deck with text only. I recommend this all the time. Don't worry about all the fancy pictures and the design. Just do a black and white version of your deck and start to get feedback on it. That's my recommendation because you're going to be making a lot of changes to it. It just makes your life a little bit easier. After that, you want to start conducting what I call the rich mom test. And you might be familiar with the mom test. I highly suggest you go and check out the mom test if you haven't done so already. But I like to up the ante and say it's like talking to your friend's rich mom who has money and the ability to invest. You want feedback very, very direct and clear. You want them to be honest with you, which is what the mom test is all about. Then you'll be prepared to create a master deck. Master deck is a living document where all the slides you possibly could ever use or need during a fundraise, they're going to exist there. That's every slide. And that's going to be an ongoing document that you're going to continue to iterate as you get feedback. The other slide deck that you're going to need is something called a screener deck. And this is 10 to 12 slides. It's also called the information deck or an introductory deck. And this is a deck that gets uploaded online, and you take a link to it and you put it in your outreach emails or any correspondence that you have. This is your screener deck. So now you can see there are two decks. We say work on your master deck where every slide, such as financial projections, competitive analysis, market analysis, your insights, all that stuff, including the technical aspects and the stories of the founders, you want to have that there. And you're going to strip that down in the most important 10 to 12 slides. There are a lot of resources out there in what should go out in the initial deck and send that out to investors. And the job of the screener deck is not to make the investor make an investment decision, but a sorting decision to contact you so you can pitch them the rest of your startup using the rest of your deck. Now, it's important that if you are working with advisors, you understand your role versus theirs. It's important to set some clear boundaries in terms of the expectations. When I'm working with founders, I like to say, you know what? I can only take you halfway. You are the expert. You are the founder. You need to show the investors that you understand and have thought through your unique value proposition and all the questions that investors are going to ask. That's the type of conversation you want with your advisor to co-create a plan so you set the expectations and you get the right advisors on board with your team. That's going to be your first 30 days. You're going to get a validated pitch deck. You're done. Your pitch deck, you know it works, you know it's effective. What happens after that? Key result number 2, which is investor research and getting feedback, which is going to take another 30 days. And this is important because you're going to understand that there are different types of investors, and you want to get acclimated with the investment market and how the entire startup investment community ecosystem works. The different investors could be anything from FFA investors, friends, family, associates, and generous angels, family offices, micro, macro VC, Private equity is just kind of a general blanket term. They all operate a little differently. It's important you understand the different types of investors. Go do your research. Now, once you do your research, you're going to realize that every investor has a different investment thesis. It might be industry, location, stage, traction. That means different things for different investors, or check size and exit. For example, some investors may say, we only want to invest in companies in biotech that have done at least $1 million in revenue and can go public for $1 billion. That could be something that they're looking for, and they're going to write you a check for $2 to $5 million. That's a potential investment thesis that you'll encounter. Another investment thesis you might hit is we're looking for early stage, pre-revenue, great ideas with great teams in certain industries, and we're willing to give them pre-seed money so that you can start an MVP, go out and get traction, and begin to validate, and then begin to track that seed round for other investors. The earlier they get in, the more reward they get on the back end if it pays out. Therefore, they're going to be looking for more equity, and the terms are going to be different. You see the wild disparity that can happen between investors and their investment theses. Then you're going to be looking for sources where you can find the investors. And here are the few that I suggest that you check out. Go to LinkedIn and type right in angel investor in your area, whatever city it is. You might say Chicago, and you will find all the angel investors in Chicago. It's the easiest way to reach out to your local ecosystem, because local investors tend to respond better to local founders and startups, and everybody has their own unique ecosystem of investment, such as state-run programs, incubators, accelerators. Go find those out in your city. Use LinkedIn. After that, learn how to use Crunchbase, which allows you to search up all the different types of deals and startups and find out who's investing in what and get information on the investors. This costs a little bit of money. It's not too bad, but it's a resource, which does cost money. After that, there's PitchBook, which is a lot more expensive, but gives you better detailed information. And then we have our own directory, Startups.com, where I'm doing investor relations every single day, and we're verifying investor information. You might want to check that out there. All right, let's get to key result number 3, and that is your outreach systems. This is going to take another 30 days to fire up and get going as far as investor outreach is concerned. Here are the top ways investors find you. It's important to think about this because there are ways that you can get investors to come to you versus going out to them, and they are things like funding directories, example, Crunchbase, AngelList. If you've had a previous funding round, go list yourself over there. They'll find you. Trust me. This is related to getting industry PR, not just funding rounds, but also if you got a write-up in an industry publication and you are validated and someone says, hey, take a look at this, analysts, scouts, and people who work with VCs are going to be scouring those resources because that's a sign of product traction, maybe product market fit, definitely validation in the market. They will contact you and ask you if you need any money. And the final way is referrals. This is the method that I use the most. Investors will refer you to other investors, or founders will refer you to their investors, or maybe investors that didn't invest in them, but they have a good relationship. And that's the reason you will always want to be networking with your peers. And when you talk to investors, you want to be asking them, which we'll talk about in a moment, who else that you should be talking to. Now, what you're going to be doing right away is create the ABC list. This is what you do right out of the gate. And I do this every single time. I do an ABC list, and the A stand for my personal connections. And these might be friends, family, and associate investors who understand what you're trying to do and who have a personal relationship with you. They like you. You can call in and ask them a favor, give you feedback on your pitch deck, or give you introductions and referrals. These are the ones who are tight. They're in that inner circle. You want to be contacting them first. The next circle are the Bs, and these are the individuals you have a professional relationship with that you could send them a message, an email, and they will recognize who you are and take your call. Maybe you're associated with them on social media. You've been following each other. These are the professional connections. They're not as close as the A's with a personal relationship, but they are professionally related to you, and they will take your call. And finally, it's the C list. This is where all your cold calls go, the people you've never talked to, don't know about you whatsoever, and that's the last list that you're going to be contacting. Next, you're going to need a CRM system that's as simple as the free HubSpot or an Excel spreadsheet. I use Excel spreadsheets. There are fancier ways of tracking customer relationship management, and all the systems are out there. Use what works best for you, what's familiar with you, because you're going to be taking copious amounts of notes and keeping track of your progress. CRMs also help if you're working with advisors, where you can show them who you've been contacting. You can analyze it for different trends, feedback, all that good stuff. Make sure you get a good CRM, get that going. After that, you're going to be working on your outreach script and your screener deck. The outreach script is more than just saying, hey, how are you? I hope this contact finds you well. I was hoping that maybe you'd invest. That's not the way that it works. Your outreach scripts need to be super tight, and there are a lot of resources that can help you write them. I help founders write these all the time, and they are brief and they are amazing. And then what you do is you attach a link at the bottom. You just cut and paste that link and say, click here if you want to see my screener deck because you've uploaded it to the cloud. Remember that screener deck is coming. And then understand when to follow up if you start tracking who opens your emails. And if you're using LinkedIn, you can see who's opened your emails. The point of it is that your CRM, your outreach script, and your screener deck all come together for your outreach system. After you start talking to the investors and you're having those meetings, you want to ask if you can send them updates or you ask them for referrals. It's very simple, saying, great, do you mind if we keep you posted and put you on our investor list and send you updates on how we're doing? Or you may also say, we really value your opinion. This was an amazing conversation. Who else do you think we should talk to? Make sure you are ready for paperwork and due diligence. There's nothing worse than getting an investor saying, yeah, I'm interested, send me your stuff, and you're not ready, and it takes you a month to get it all together and send it to them. You want to have your paperwork ready, including your due diligence, such as a deal room, where they can see legal documents like your cap table. This is an important part that a lot of founders don't think about because I get it. It takes a lot of energy and effort, and it's pretty nerve-wracking to even get to that point, but you want to be prepared to follow up quickly should you get a positive response. My advice here as you start having those conversations is believe the no, not the why. This is something I learned from Y Combinator, is that take the no as a no, and if it's not a yes, also take it as a no, but not the why. Investors are going to say a lot of things just to be polite, and they're going to tell you all different opinions, etc. Don't believe the why necessarily. That's the reason you want to be talking to your advisors and looking at that feedback. But if it's not a yes, take everything as a no. I've seen many founders get themselves in trouble because they kind of get a half yes and they stop fundraising, and then it becomes a no, and then they're caught behind the 8 ball and they're really behind. So they have to keep going. Always keep working towards that yes until that money's in the bank, and then you can take your foot off the gas and give yourself a little bit of relief from your fundraise. Here, I just want to make a mention. It's important to manage your expectations. Back in 2021, I saw term sheets go out and money hit the bank in 30 days. Today, at the time of this recording, I'm watching deals take 6 to 9 months to put together. At the same time, the volume of investors that a founder has to reach has significantly increased because of market conditions. So manage your expectations. As much as I'd love to say that you're going to get investment in 90 days, I can't say that. But I can tell you that if you do these steps and you keep up your intensity of execution, you will have meaningful conversations with investors in 90 days and know where you stand. Now let's talk about the final key result that you will be doing continually through the entire process, and that is to increase traction. I cannot stress enough how important it is, especially if you're an early stage founder, to always be working on your traction. And you want to be spending your time according to 40-40-20. That is 40% of your time getting traction, 40% of your time investor outreach, and 20% self-care. In all your allocated time working on your startup, it's literally half getting traction. And that is building product, talking to users, selling to users, doing all those things to get traction so you're constantly showing growth that you can show the investors that you're reaching out to in the other half of your time, and you're getting feedback, and there could be feedback loops happening where you're going to be improving your product along the way. And then I mentioned the 20% self-care because this is a marathon, not a sprint. So take care of yourself, keep your energy up, your physical health, mental health, take care of it, and you will last as long as you need to. The other tip that I have when it comes to traction is raise on inflection points. Inflection points are moments in time where your startup suddenly increases in value, and that's when investors are super interested. Investors aren't as interested in giving you money to reach a milestone such as launch your MVP. They're super excited when you say, hey, guess what? We just landed this huge client, or we just got our first paying customer, or we're growing 10% week over week. That's the reason you work on traction, because it shows them those inflection points. And that brings us to FOMO. FOMO is your friend. The more inflection points that you communicate, the more fear of missing out investors start to experience. That is a real thing with investors. That's when they start to think and wonder, what if this startup grows so fast they don't need my money anymore? Or what if I miss the boat and another investor comes in and gets in on the best deal and they don't need my money anymore? FOMO is a real thing. Use the inflection points. And what I like to do is keep all the investors posted and send them surprise emails saying, hey, look at what we just accomplished. It's really cool. And that's what gins up the FOMO, and the investors will reach out. You'll know when that FOMO hits because they start pitching you more than you're pitching them. That's a great feeling to have. And my last piece of advice, join us at Startups.com Accelerator community. I hope I've laid this out in a way that even if you're not part of our community, you can do on your own. But if you are part of the community, then come and contact us. We're here to help you work through this plan literally day by day and make sure you're on track. Let's do this together. Thanks for checking this out, your 90-day plan for funding.